Peace, love, and balance, everybody. Peace, love, and balance. It's your girl Isha, the goddess of wisdom, also known as goddess on the rise, the copper queen, the flower hoodie queen, bringing this sacred energy exchange to y'all. All right, it is Wednesday. Happy Friday, y'all. So normally on Fridays, I choose not to open because if you do not know, I am a Moorish woman and I recognize Holy Day. This is a holy day. This is the day to recognize our ancestors from across your heritage. Spend time with them. Spend time with yourself. Do things that you need like journaling, self care. Grand Rising. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, doing things for yourself, I feel like this is definitely the day to do any of your rituals. Because for most people, this is your Friday. It's the last day you probably got to work. So this is a good check-in day, okay? Check-in day, do all your rituals. And that's what I do. I do my spiritual baths and all that, okay? Check in with yourself, do any kind of cleansings on your house. Like yesterday, I already got a head start. I cleaned, I keep my house clean, but y'all know a clean house make you feel better. My kitchen, because I've been cooking all week, was a little dirty. So I just cleaned up that whole kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Keep the house clean. I cleaned up my whole kitchen and I did give me something to eat last night. I did not cook. I said I'm getting something to eat, okay? You don't got to cook every day if you don't have to, but it saves money if you do. Now, I opened my shop today outside of normal business hours because everybody, depending on where you are, they're talking about us getting hit with some bad winter storm, mostly ice, not really snow. They say it's going to start off as rain and then it may start falling off as ice. So people are trying to get last minute stuff. And y'all know during this time, this is gonna be the best time if we do get snowed in to really get deep in the spirit. So talking with your ancestors, getting your reading materials, spiritual stuff. You need to get your incense and candles to keep because sometimes we have to be locked in. It gets kind of chaotic because we just having to sit still. Okay. And I promise you that's the best time to work with your ancestors and do your spiritual practices. Okay. So yes, I'm open today till 5:30. I tell people I said until 5:30 or until the snow comes. Because if it starts snowing, obviously, because I'm gonna just keep it real, nobody getting stuck here. You will get put outside. Nobody getting stuck here with me. So no, don't come here and it's bad weather that you get stuck here and expect me to let you in the house. I will not. I'm keeping it real with you. So yes, I will have a cutoff point if it do start snowing or something like that. I'll be like, I don't care. Take your butt home or go somewhere else close by your house, because I'm not letting nobody in here. But yeah, today I titled this reading Hoodoo and Voodoo are closed practices, y'all. There has been a lot of talk going around about MAGA witches. And let me explain something. This is something I didn't even, so I tell you, I really don't keep up with this stuff. But when it starts surfacing up on social media, I do sometimes look into stuff to see if it's even worth the time of day. Because some of this stuff is not worth the time of day yet. We got to notice the difference between stuff that's just drama, trying to get a reaction out of us and distracting us versus if it's worth even really talking about. And this was kind of a little bit of both. It's worth talking about, and I have talked about it before, but I'm gonna go deeper on it. But at the same time, it is a bunch of drama, y'all. So try not to get too caught up in all this drama. Just focus on you and focus on what you need to be doing for you. And like I tell people, just you can't we can't control everything. And like we can control more than we realize in spirit. Okay? Doing the practices is how we control things, okay? Doing our spiritual practice, y'all, is how we control stuff. But if we keep on talking about it and not being about it, what do we expect? Okay. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff today about that. Okay. And before I get started, I'm going to show y'all a couple of books that I highly recommend y'all tap into. So we got Power of Psalms. This is a good book. Somebody actually gifted this book to me, and I have been using it. It's very beneficial because if you do not know, in Hoodoo, we use the book of Psalms. And remember, it wasn't just because we believed in the Bible. It was because this is all we had. And it was the only way only tool, the book we was even allowed to read. First, we wasn't allowed to read the Bible. And then they finally started teaching to us. So once we did, we learned how to utilize it and create Hoodoo. Okay, because remember, words are spells. And it is some powerful verses in here. I tell people, since it was made from, a patriarchal point, there is a lot of he references in it. I tell people that it's already been geared towards men. So I change it sometimes and I may say God or goddess or both. My mother and father, God or goddess. And instead of just saying he, I say he or she. You know what I'm saying? You got to just change some of the words up because you don't want to be damning yourself. See what I'm saying? You got to change the words up. But, this is a good book. And two books that's the hottest books out right now. here it's got the Hoodoo Saints, and I have met this author. All right, Hoodoo Saints, the Root Warriors. All right, and then this is a good book. And then we have the Conjuring of America. Y'all know I got the Witches Conjuring Festival coming up this October. So yes, the Conjuring of America. All right, it got mojos, mermaids, medicine, and 400 years of Black women's magic. Okay, so I'm going to get into why the title was named Hoodoo and Voodoo are closed practices, because they are, y'all. Okay, so I tell you, they're not closed practices for any type of reason that you've been more than likely told. So I don't, and half of us, I don't even know what y'all been told. Some people been told it's because it's for Black people only. Because no, no. That's another thing. It's a closed practice type. I know it's especially hoodoo. I don't know any Native Americans that practice hoodoo. Okay, I really don't. I'm not saying they don't exist, because there's so many people out there practicing it that's not supposed to. That that it's very possible, but I've never seen one. It's not something I talk, because a lot of Native Americans I know be Christians too. Not saying they can't be Christians and practice hoodoo too, because people have done it. There's a melanated people that are Christians and they still practice hoodoo, because you can. That's why people don't understand how I can practice voodoo and practice hoodoo too, because first of all, I practice Louisiana voodoo, and Louisiana voodoo has their own hoodoo. It's called Louisiana hoodoo, and I've talked about that. Let's read that again. All right, so Louisiana Hoodoo is practiced in Louisiana using African, Indigenous, French, Spanish, and Caribbean traditional spirituality. Also using elements of Voodoo and Catholicism, and is most known for its elaborate rituals and collaboration of spirits. So yes, that is why I can practice Voodoo. And then Voodoo is a religion, just like Christianity is a religion. So, it's just my preference is Voodoo as my religion of choice, just like somebody else can be a Muslim and they can practice hoodoo. Yes. Somebody that's a Muslim, which is very well, or Ifa. Somebody can be Ifa and practice hoodoo. Yes. So hoodoo is strictly for Africans and Americans that were enslaved here. That were enslaved here in America. We created hoodoo from slavery. Okay? Have y'all ever noticed why Native Americans don't have a huge slavery story? They have the story about the smallpox and genocide and all that, the same similar story, but did they get enslaved? No, they didn't. The blacks, they always talk about how the blacks got enslaved. Y'all know I done told y'all about that book I've been reading for a while about the Cherokee, the rise and fall of the Cherokee Nation. They don't talk about Native Americans being enslaved. Matter of fact, Native Americans actually enslaved some of us. And in their mind, they made it seem like it was better to be enslaved by them than being enslaved by the white colonizers back then. That's how they justified it. And okay, they like, well, at least because now I will say this. When they enslaved us and stuff like that, they were still breeding with us and having children with us behind these white colonizers back, because they knew the truth that we were the original people. But they still did some traitor stuff. They was breeding with them and us. They was playing both sides. And some Native Americans don't like to talk about this, but yes, they were playing both sides. They was breeding with the colonizers, trying to make peace with them, and some of them were still trying to breed with us, because they knew it wasn't right what was happening to us, and we are the reason why they was even here too. Because I told y'all need to go back to my reading, Returning to Your Roots live. They came from the Ice Age and came here from Siberia and fled to South America during the Ice Age. They're Asians. They were originally Asians. They're not from the Americas at all. They came here before. They was here before Columbus and all them as well, but we were here first. The American Indians. And that is why right now, unfortunately, ICE is, and all these and the U.S. corporation themselves are taking away their tribal rights and treaty benefits. That's not a coincidence. And I'm not making this up. I share it all the time if you follow me on social media. I'm not making this up. And I don't think it's funny either. You know what I'm saying? I just think karma always run its course. So they're losing benefits under the U.S. corporation that they've been getting reparations, y'all. All right. We ain't been getting reparations as melanated Americans, as AKA Black Americans, FBAs, Indigenous American Indians. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Us. We ain't never got reparations. Okay? Never. The most reparations we done got is food stamps and Section 8. And that ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? So now, all of a sudden, people that don't identify with the history, and to this day, they don't have to go through any of the poverties of being a melanated American as an American Indian. They don't have to go through anything, and they had never had to want to practice voodoo and hoodoo. Now, I want to talk about this, and some of us may be upset about this. It's still too many American blacks, aka indigenous peoples, that don't know who they are and are not practicing. It's 11/11. I'm talking about this. Y'all don't want to know it, some of y'all, because y'all scared of it, because it's been demonized for so long. And I do understand that, but it's been demonized for so long. You're scared of being written off by your families because you're doing it, because y'all may be tough on some other religious practice, that y'all demonize that. So that's another thing. Most of us that do practice hoodoo and voodoo, we don't have the support of our own community sometimes. It is true. It's still being demonized amongst us. So that is very confusing, y'all. That is very confusing for a lot of people. We're always at some type of war when it comes to, the whole point of it, it's a combination of a lot of different cultures in one, and majority of them are melanated cultures. Catholicism and voodoo is included. Christianity is included in hoodoo. You see what I'm saying? As well as some indigenous practice in voodoo and hoodoo. Okay, along with some other stuff. All right, so it's a combination of it all, and African spirituality is in both of them. So Native American indigenous practices, African spirituality, and Catholic and Christianity is in both of them. That is something they have in common. That's why people think they are similar, but they not. Because in traditional hoodoo, that's why I like to call it traditional hoodoo, they don't have any deities like that. But in voodoo, Louisiana voodoo and Louisiana hoodoo, they do. They have the Catholic saints and the voodoo lords. Okay, so that's what I said. It is different, and also voodoo is a religion, and traditional hoodoo is not. Okay, it's very focused on the your spiritual practice and the root and your immediate ancestors. That's something they don't have deities, but you're supposed to be working with your ancestors. That's another thing hoodoo is about. Hoodoo is paying homage to your ancestors, your grandmama, your great great grandmama, your great great granddaddy, your great 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 granddaddy, especially the enslaved ones that were utilizing hoodoo, so you could use it today to stay connected to them and what they had to do for survival purposes, y'all. You know what I'm saying? That's how deep it is. That's what hoodoo is, and that's nothing. Hoodoo, that's a whole different ball game. That's what said you. So if you didn't have any ancestors that were enslaved and still are a part of that poverty today as a melanated person, you have no business. And if you're not an American, because another thing, Africans, that's another thing. Say a first generation African here, they cannot practice hoodoo. Just because your parents moved you here and your parents are full-blooded Africans, and now you're a first generation African American, actually, you cannot practice hoodoo. See, that's how close it is. Everybody black can't practice hoodoo. That's how serious it is. So people think it's just for black people. No, it ain't. And honestly, don't really know too many Africans that even want to practice that either. Even if they have slavery in their family, and a lot of them possibly do, it happened on African land. It didn't happen here. That's what I said. This is about people that stuff like that happened to them here. So most of the Africans that got brought over here years ago and we integrated with them, they in us now. We are what's left of that generation. We are the mixings. Half of them are dead and gone, and they've had children, and we have been here. We ain't first generation Africans and stuff no more. You know what I mean? The blood been mixed. They stayed here in America, and a lot of them never went back home. and they don't identify with. So a lot of them that didn't went home, didn't never go home after slavery, they don't even know they family probably from went back then. They don't know how to get in. They never got in touch with them. That's the so they literally got stripped from their families, and they became a part of the indigenous people here. So them people are barely alive anymore. If they are still here, they're like hundreds of years old and pretty much about to leave. But it's a lot of them have been gone. They done bred with us over the years, and they became us. We are the descendants of that now, us children. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. No, hoodoo is not for everybody. That's how strict it is. And voodoo. You can't just because you African, oh, I'm about to practice hoodoo now. Nope. Nope. It's deeper than that. So we're going to go through the history of voodoo and hoodoo because they have a lot of similarities. Similarities. And I took some notes, okay? So y'all know how I do. I'm going to be reading this stuff. Hold on. Let me ring to get us. I know I didn't ring the bell. Let me ring the bell. Hold on. Earth, air, fire, water, spiritual universe, most high, higher service, spirit, gods of balance, light, ancestors known or unknown of balance, light. Please come into this space and provide us a divine message, and may we stay in harmony and balance. Islam and Hotep. Islam and Hotep, y'all. We got to stay in harmony and balance about these subjects. It's not it's enough spiritual warfare going out around. Trust me, okay? We gonna know it's time when it's time to turn up. So, a brief history of voodoo and why it's a closed practice, okay? So the origins of voodoo is not just one tradition. It's a family of religions born from West African spiritual systems carried to the Americas through the transatlantic slave trade. Yes. So voodoo, which is Vodou, and voodoo, Vodun, and they even got voodoo, which is Vodunon, and New African voodoo. Okay, New African voodoo with a K. All these traditions were carried over here to the Americas through the transatlantic slave trade, and we created these practices, okay, based off these different um family of religions, okay. It has it got these practices were preserved in secret, often disguised under Christian saints to survive colonial oppression. And this they're talking about Louisiana voodoo. Louisiana voodoo influenced by Haitian voodoo, French Catholicism, and African traditions developed uniquely in the U.S. South. And yeah, like I said, it was hidden. So that's another thing. Just like in hoodoo, hoodoo was hidden through Christianity. We was using that Bible, and we didn't want them to know that we was using it and working roots and stuff and making mojo bags and stuff and working with John Conqueror root and all that stuff and all the stuff that we was doing. We didn't want them to know. So this stuff was a hidden practice under a lot of religious practices that, remember, if you watch I got another live, I think it's called Christian Black Codes and Witchcraft and all that, where it talked about how they made a law that blacks couldn't even be around without a Catholic Christian with them. The Christian Black Codes talks about that. We weren't even allowed to even walk and be seen in public without a Christian with you. That's how serious they was just putting their stuff on us. And yes, death was a part of a sentence if you were caught practicing any kind of voodoo or hoodoo or any African spirituality and even speaking your language. This is not a new story. You know what I'm saying? All right. So we got West African voodoo originated from the Fan, Ewe, and Yoruba peoples of Benin, Togo, and Nigeria. Haitian voodoo evolved from African voodoo mixed with Catholicism, forced conversions, and the brutal conditions of slavery. Okay? This is the truth, y'all. And again, why it's a closed practice again. Closed means it's not open to everyone. You cannot just practice voodoo without proper initiation, ancestry, or cultural connections. Yes. You cannot, so that's another thing. If you got initiated into certain things, because there's certain branches of voodoo that you have to get initiated into. Louisiana voodoo is not one of them, okay? You don't have to get initiated into Louisiana voodoo. However, you do have to have proper ancestry and cultural connections to be a part of Louisiana voodoo. Yes, you do. And a lot of people don't meet that. That's why I said just because you're a first generation or second generation African, that's the real African Americans, if you want to keep it real. That's why they have Chinese Americans, Irish American, Asian Americans, and African Americans, and they got us calling ourselves African Americans, which was a scam. And now we're indigenous to America, not African Americans. So African Americans are people that may be first or second generation Africans that live and been born in America, but their parents are full blooded, well known Africans. Okay, full blooded, well known Africans that were not born in America. That's what I'm saying. All right. So yeah, you can't just practice it just because you got black skin. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works either. So whoever been spreading that lie, stop. So it got voodoo is closed because it's deeply rooted in ancestral lineage and bloodlines. It was forged in survival by enslaved people who used it to protect, preserve, and empower their culture. It requires initiation, training, and permission from elders or clergies in certain branches. All right, the Hogans and Mambos. Yes, and that's mostly in like Haitian voodoo and voodoo and stuff. So again, it is sacred, and a lot of that you have to get initiated in Haiti and stuff. You see what I'm saying? Zora Neale talked about that. So again, it is sacred, not aesthetic, not for costumes, casual spell work, or special or social media trends. And that's what everybody's doing. Everybody's doing it now because they think it's a trend and it's being treated like a trend. And y'all, that's dangerous. Did y'all hear about that girl that got killed? She was trying to summon Papa Legba to harm her ex-boyfriend, a Caucasian young lady. I shared it online, and she ended up dead. They said she had a dream that she saw Papa Legba, and she woke up. This is an actual true story. She woke up. She went on social media. She said, "I seen Papa Legba," and she died, y'all. You see, that's another reason why a lot of melanated people are scared of their own stuff. What you scared for? Now, if you don't, like I just explained, if you don't meet these ancestral and cultural connections, yeah, you need to stop meddling. But Americans, us, the indigenous American Indians, we shouldn't be afraid of nothing. They were created by our ancestors here in America. So it made sense what happened to her. She wasn't supposed to be messing with that stuff. She got called home because she was meddling. So that's what I'm saying. It's not it. This ain't no joke. And another thing, especially so since there is no initiation into Louisiana voodoo, because that's something all melanated people do not practice, voodoo. It's a lot of them that don't. I don't really know a lot of people that do. And if they do, they may be doing it in secret, like what I used to. Because it's not none of nobody's business. I tell people the only reason I'm talking about it because I have a platform that I sell products for people that need it. You know what I'm saying? But there's people that buy stuff from me. They don't want people to know, and I respect that because I was the same way. I'm just running a business now, so of course I had to let it be known. But but yeah, it's a lot of people that don't practice it. They don't recognize it as a religious to them. They're scared of it because it is very structured. And I do believe that since there's no like typical initiation into it, it's a spiritual initiation with voodoo. I got the call. Everybody get the call, but everybody don't answer. Somebody came to me about voodoo. I didn't understand it either. And believe it or not, I was scared in the beginning. I was like, I couldn't, I was like, I don't think I have any ancestors that I know of that practice voodoo. I was doing my family tree, y'all, but for some reason I got the call for voodoo. I tell you, I woke up, I had a dream. I had a dream about it. That's what I'm saying. So that's another thing. When you get called to something, you start getting a drive for it. I felt this in my heart and my soul. I was like, something I'm supposed to be doing this. And later on, and somebody had to tell me this, I was actually practicing it anyway without even noticing it. That was wild. So that's natural. I was naturally doing it, and I finally one day I decided to get a book. Right, I bought a book. As I started reading the book, and somebody else told me first. Somebody else told me first, like this is voodoo, and I'm like, no, it's not. And I don't. I read the book, and I looked at what I was doing. I was like, I was doing it naturally, y'all. That's what I mean by it's a calling. And right now, I'm like whatever ancestor it is, they woke up in me from way back. They found me, they saw me waking up, and they got to me. You see what I'm saying? I don't have a name for this ancestor. It could be multiple too, but they woke me up, and I have been safely practicing this, and it's been very beneficial to me. And it's definitely not about no daggum trend. Okay? It's not. That's stop thinking it's a trend or it's cute, something to be cute and no, baby. That's what I said. I don't really talk to a lot of people about it because if you're not serious about it, we're not talking about it. You know what I mean? And I take consultation appointments because you're not wasting my time and I'm not teaching for free. You know what I mean? But because I gotta know you serious. But yeah, it has appropriating voodoo disrespects centuries of sacred knowledge and trauma. If you weren't born into a formally welcomed into house pure style, it's not yours to claim. So yes, a lot of people, y'all wasn't born into this as a whatever other, as a non-melanated person. You don't know the struggles of this. Now what's going on right now? Now people starting to realize the struggles of what the American Indians been going through, and it's terrible. Like that woman that got shot in what was it, Wisconsin or something like that. All this ICE stuff going on. What y'all think was going on when they was removing us off the land years ago and killing our mamas and our great grandmamas and our shamans and stuff, and the Trail of Tears and smallpox and stuff and the wars. What y'all we are and then continued made our religions and spiritual practices illegal. We talk about this. That's what I said. That's what trips me out. It was illegal. So even some of these Caucasian women and men that's practicing hoodoo now, it used to be illegal in general. So it was illegal by y'all's corporation. It was illegal by y'all's corporation that y'all are under. That's another thing. They are definitely under the U.S. corporation. Like I told you, if y'all been seeing, ICE been turning up. And I promise y'all, my Americans, indigenous Americans, y'all better make sure y'all attached to y'all roots. See, this is why you should stop being ashamed of your indigenous American roots and stop thinking you just straight African. We already know the bloodlines have been linked together because of the transatlantic slave trade, but you need to claim your indigenous American rights for real. Because most of y'all, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. Most of y'all do not know the African blood lineages in y'all African. Like me, I don't have a great, 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 great uncle that I can say he was full-blooded African that we know of. If I'm not saying I don't have one, but it's so far back, they weren't even keeping record. That's another thing. That's how you know you're American. When you go so far back with Americans, ain't no records. Because they didn't keep records of slaves. Especially here in America. You barely had a number. That's where social security numbers and all that stuff came from. They had to start, you know what I'm saying? It's slavery. So that's what they don't have a record that far back. They weren't keeping record when they first started enslaving us here. So you're not gonna have any records that far back. They're not gonna have that ancestor that got off the boat possibly that may have bred with your grandmama here in America possibly. You see what I'm saying? Those stories we don't got them unless you got a tight lineage that kept record of that stuff, which I highly doubt. And y'all kept, that's nothing that was important to us learning the stories when we was young. We used to tell the stories. As you got older, everybody kept making sure they passed that story down. Story time. People don't do that no more. We just stopped telling the stories. We stopped telling the stories, y'all. So that's what I'm talking about. So we got where you'll find voodoo today. Yeah, you'll still find voodoo strong in Haiti and where it's a part of everyday life, like Louisiana still got pockets of folk who practice Louisiana voodoo, especially in New Orleans. Because that's another thing. Most people in New Orleans practice like New Orleans. But you remember, Louisiana is a big area. It's a lot of people in Louisiana in those different areas that don't practice voodoo either. That's what I'm saying. That's how bad it got destroyed and demonized. Even people in Louisiana, born in Louisiana, they may not be born in New Orleans. Because New Orleans, Louisiana is a specific location that they are still utilizing it because it's a tourist attraction too. But it's some people that in Louisiana that don't practice it at all. And they born and raised in Louisiana. Okay? But it has, you can also find it in parts of the Caribbean like the Dominican Republic, which makes sense because remember, voodoo has Caribbean practices in it, a Puerto Rican, and yes, sometimes you find some Africans. I mean Puerto Ricans, because Puerto Ricans ain't nothing but Africans. And they got and in African countries like Benin where it all started. And that's another thing. When they're talking about this stuff, this is not Louisiana voodoo. They're talking about the places where this stuff started to originate from that got it brought here anyway. So the original way of practicing it before Louisiana voodoo was created due to the transatlantic slave trade. That's why I said Louisiana voodoo is totally different. But it is from these other locations brought here to America. Okay? From those ancestors specifically that combined their practices with us and created these. So we got, and with more people searching for their roots, you'll find voodoo showing up in cities across the U.S. now, especially where folks are reconnecting with African spirituality. So yes, I know it can be confusing, y'all, but this is why it's important to do your family trees, do your research, study, and just start with your immediate ancestors. That's what you can do. Pay homage to your immediate ancestors. That could be a grandparent or a parent, uncles, great uncles, grandmamas, all, you know what I'm saying? All that. That's why we need to start doing our ancestor work, okay? So I got the differences between voodoo and hoodoo. Here we go. Okay? It has a lot of folks mix the two up, but they ain't the same. Voodoo is a religion with structure, spirits, ceremonies, and priesthoods. Yes. Remember I said that? And that is a reason, because it's a religion, because it's very structured, a lot of people don't like to follow it. Some people, I've heard people say it reminds them they get too many rules, right? And if you're not, used to following rules, you won't like it. You know what I'm saying? You do got to follow these rules. That's another thing. You could, yes. And people don't want to follow the rules. All you got to do is just follow the rules. And you will get results. Why is that so hard? So it got hoodoo is more like folk magic. It doesn't have any gods or spirits to serve. Hoodoo is about using herbs, roots, candles, and Bible verses to change things in your life. It's what folks in the South will call root work or conjure. So look, remember I was telling y'all about this. So yes, there are like for Hoodoo Heritage Month, people like Nat Turner Day and John Conqueror the Woo. There are different ancestors that they pay homage to. Obviously, that you can, and you will have to know those deities and stuff like that, and those ancestors specifically. But they don't typically, like, in the ancient Kemet, same thing in ancient Kemet, they have deities. They got the Hathor, Ma'at, Ra. Same thing with voodoo. They got Papa Legba, Baron Samedi, Mammy Bridget, even Marie Laveau, of course. You know what I'm saying? And the Catholic saints. So it's different in hoodoo. They don't really have all that. Everything is connected to the spirits, their ancestors, and root work and their Bible. So it's more, I feel like it's more of a freestyle connecting you to the earth directly and your ancestors and your own magic. I love it. It's very ritualistic to me, if you ask me. So I love it. You know what I mean? For that reason only. Sometimes, like me, sometimes I just need to do some work. For me, I don't necessarily need a ancestor or a deity, but they always there with you too in hoodoo when you need them. Because they're connected to the practice itself. Mojo bags and all that. You see what I'm saying? So that's the work. That's working with your ancestors, utilizing what they had to do in a survival time, the best that they could, to keep their practices alive in secret. That's it. So people love hoodoo for those reasons, because it's not a religion, and I totally understand. We've been religion from different people, and I've experienced this myself, gets out of hand. Like me, as a person that practices voodoo, and I know it's a religion, I do not be trying to convert people to voodoo, because it don't work like it. You can't just convert nobody. It's not that. People, you either got to be called and you want it, or you don't. So no, I don't go around, you need to do this voodoo. Heck no, I'm not doing that at all. You ain't gonna never see me doing it, because that's not how I got called to it. You see what I'm saying? That is a strong ancestral calling. It's not a sorority. It's not a sorority, y'all, or fraternity. That's another thing. We gotta stop treating this stuff like it's some kind of sorority or fraternity. It's not. It's your heritage. All right. So yeah, got right here. Voodoo might have hoodoo in it, but hoodoo don't have voodoo in it. That's the difference. That is correct. So yes, when I am practicing Louisiana voodoo, I actually have Louisiana hoodoo in it at times. But when I'm practicing hoodoo, I do not include voodoo in it. It don't. You won't even be able to do it. It's going. You're gonna get this alert, and it's gonna be like, "Don't do that, S." That's the same. That's what I'm saying. You got to really follow your instincts and follow your gut when you're doing this. I have gotten alerts like, "Hey, don't do that, S," and I don't do it. If it don't feel right, it ain't right. This is about. Remember, you got to follow your. That's why you're supposed to be in tune with your ancestors. So there's been times when it was something I was about to do, and they stopped me in the tracks, and I didn't do it. It's a serious alert. It don't feel good. It feels alarming. And they like, don't you do that shit. Pretty much that's what they're saying. And I'm like, okay, that's what I mean by following instructions. So when you feel that stuff, some of y'all be doing it anyway. Y'all, because people don't like to follow rules. So then people get messed up and then they want to demonize. No, you didn't listen. You didn't listen. Okay. So the history of voodoo, I think we said some of this, but we can go over it again. Here it is right here. The history of voodoo. It got voodoo started in West Africa, mostly in what's now Benin in Nigeria. When African people were taken during the transatlantic slave trade, they brought their beliefs with them. These beliefs mixed with Catholicism, native traditions, especially in places like Haiti and New Orleans. That's how Haitian voodoo and Louisiana voodoo came to be. Both share roots, but they grew different depending on where they landed. In Haiti, voodoo became a whole national religion. In Louisiana, it stayed smaller and mixed more with French and Spanish Catholic customs. And y'all got to look into the French and Spanish wars and stuff like that about here. Because that's another thing. Louisiana didn't originally used to be a part of the United States. That's another thing. It was literally its own separate like country because of the vast numbers of French and Spanish people growing there and Creoles. Ooh. It got this. That's what said. This stuff got included in later, so it didn't even used to be a part of America. That's another reason why it wasn't as common. But as I showed y'all, voodoo got very common in Tennessee. We've had militias together with people from Louisiana in Tennessee and Mississippi as indigenous peoples. We kept joining in together. We had to. It was crazy. So, what is voodoo? Let's go again. Voodoo is a religion. It's deep spiritual work that came from Africa and was carried over during slavery. It's not all magic and dolls like movies try to show. Voodoo is about connecting with spirits called Loas or spelled Loas, Loas, or Loa, Lwa. Folks use prayers, songs, offerings, and rituals to call on these spirits for help and healing. It's about honoring your ancestors and staying in touch with the spirit world. It's got a rhythm to it with drumming, dancing, and calling down spirits into people who serve as mediums. Yes, okay. So that's another reason a lot of people don't like to do voodoo. You are going to have to get into your medium skills to do this. It's a part of working with these ancestors, okay? And you cannot be afraid. If you are afraid, that's how you get hurt. That's how you summon or conjure something that you can't recognize is positive or negative. You don't know how to protect yourself when you're tapping into the spirit world to begin with. Like, you see this? And it's not a coincidence that I wore what I wore today. So I know we've seen this on Pirates of the Caribbean and, Peter Pan and all that as a symbol. But this is an ancient voodoo symbol. It meant protected by the ancestors. And yes, we would protect ourselves to the death. You know what I'm saying? It used to be marked on graves and everything in areas and tribal areas for people to like, hey, beware, don't come over here. It was a warning. These are sacred lands. But of course, this symbol has got demonized, turned into what? A trend. A trend over the years. TV shows, movies. But if you pay attention to Pirates of the Caribbean, Pirates of the Caribbean had the slave Atlantic trade in it. It's a scene in there if you pay attention to it. That Jack Sparrow was talking about. What did he say? He said we had a deal, Jack. You were supposed to deliver a package, and you didn't fall through. He said people aren't cargo, mate. Let's ring the bell, okay? I can't remember which one it was. You have to go to, you can YouTube it. But they was trying to get Jack Sparrow in the show, in the movie, to be a part of the transatlantic slave trade, and he refused, and he got demonized as a pirate. Because that means he with us. You know what I'm saying? That's why he had that symbol. So they don't be telling y'all about that in these movies. Some of y'all know this stuff, some of y'all don't. But Jack was like, I'm not helping y'all take these people from wherever they belong to and selling these people. He didn't like that. He wasn't racist. His character anyway. You know what I'm saying? But just imagine how many people were like that back then. That's somebody's true story somewhere, I bet you. He was like, I'm not doing it. But yeah, that was in the movie right there. They put all this stuff in the movies, y'all. So hold on. Now, this is where I'm gonna get into New Orleans voodoo. I've read this before, but some of y'all may have not heard this before, so I'm gonna read it again. It has New Orleans voodoo. Louisiana voodoo, also known as New Orleans voodoo, describes a set of spiritual folkways which originated from traditions of the African diaspora. It is a cultural form of the Afro-American religions which developed within the French, Spanish, and Creole-speaking African American population of the U.S. states of Louisiana. Voodoo is one of many incarnations of African-based spiritual folkways rooted in West African Dahomean voodoo. Voodoo became syncretized with the Catholicism and Francophone culture of South Louisiana as a result of the slave trade. Louisiana voodoo is often confused with, but is not completely separable from Haitian voodoo and Southern hoodoo. Yeah, you see that? It's not, it gets confused with it, but it's not completely separable from Haitian voodoo and Southern hoodoo. Okay? That's what I was calling traditional hoodoo, but it's actually Southern hoodoo, which is, it's not the same. Southern hoodoo and Louisiana hoodoo is not the same either. All right? It's similar though. It differs from voodoo in the emphasis upon gris voodoo queens' use of hoodoo occult paraphernalia and Lily Grand zombie snake deities. It was through Louisiana voodoo that such terms as gris, which is a mojo bag, is what they call it in Southern hoodoo. Gris is what they call it in Louisiana voodoo. And y'all know I actually just sold one to somebody recently. Somebody got a Griscus bag. I'm happy. And that's what I said. That's why when I take pictures of you, everything is in your bag. Nobody knows what you're buying. It's in the bag. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it got a Wolof term, and voodoo dolls were introduced into the American lexicon. So that's another thing. Voodoo dolls were originated in an American thing. And in ancient Kemet too. They actually came from ancient Kemet, Egypt, ancient Kemet. So I'm like, that was something else. And that's another thing. That's another thing. Ancient Kemet, the black land, is considered an African spiritual practice. It is. And that is the only thing that is not a closed practice. Some people would like it to be. I know some people that would prefer it to be because it was made, it's what is it? It's for us, by us, right? It is. It was made by melanated peoples. It's an African spiritual practice that we let everybody come. Remember, Jesus and Mary themselves came to Africa, which they were melanated peoples too. They came and learned. But that was a practice that it was a universal practice that got everybody in one place. That's why it was so powerful, and that's why so many people wanted that land and fought over that land forever, because of the power that it held. Ancient Kemet is the top notch, baby. The Unk, baby. That's where a lot of this stuff stem from. Y'all don't know. Get in touch with that Unk, and you'll understand where voodoo came from, hoodoo came from. It's an African spiritual practice. Okay? All right, and I already read to y'all Louisiana hoodoo. So if y'all want to tap into Louisiana hoodoo, you can. So look, this is a quick little wrap up, and after this, I'm gonna head out because this is all I want to talk about. I really didn't have a lot to talk about. I almost didn't do this, but I'm like, we need to do this one more time for the people in the back, or as many times as I got to. It got voodoo is not dark magic. It is a healing based spiritual system. Everything you've been told about it was shaped by fear, colonialism, and media distortion. The word voodoo comes from the foreign language word vodun, meaning spirit or sacred force. It does not mean curse, doll, or evil magic. It means relationship with the unseen. At the center of voodoo is Bondi, good God. Bondi is a supreme, distant, not directly petitioned. Practitioners do not constantly pray to Bondi. Instead, they work with the intermediary spirits. Yes. See, so it's not like in the Christian faith where we just constantly praying to Jesus. No, we work with our ancestors. We don't worship our ancestors. We pay homage and give them gratitude for their assistance, just like you would do if somebody helped you out in this physical world. You say thank you, I appreciate you, give them a hug or return the favor if you can. You know what I'm saying? You reciprocate it. So that's what we do. We reciprocate the love for their support and their guidance and their protection. So again, voodoo practitioners interact with lower spiritual forces that govern health, protection, justice, community balance, ancestral continuity. Yes, the lords are not demons. They are specialized forces similar to how saints or angels function in other systems. Yes. So just like Jesus is your deity and God, the Most High, or Jehovah, or Jah for some of y'all, and angels are y'all. Y'all say y'all got angels all around y'all. What are those? Have y'all seen that TV show Lucifer? Lucifer was an angel. I just want y'all to know. But that TV show really, I was so glad when they launched that show. It had some hidden symbolism in that show. But yes, angels watching over you. What you think an angel is? A spirit? A sacred force? It's some of these people that's they're delusional and the hypocrisy. So voodoo is primarily about healing, not harm. Historically, it has been focusing on physical healing, herbs, rituals, care, mental balance, spiritual cleansings, protection against injustice in your communities. Voodoo. So yes, that's another thing. That's what I'm saying. It was created to protect us because we were enslaved. So people that want to practice this and you don't have a history and a cultural appropriation of enslavement are actually criminal. I call it spiritual theft. They're criminals. This is spiritual theft, identity theft, culture theft. You don't know the struggles of us and what our ancestors had to go through for us to still be here today to think you have the right to practice it. And y'all that's not practicing it because you're scared, you're still demonizing it. Y'all need to back up too. Cause you ain't even practicing it. You can't defend something that you ain't even practicing. And you demon it, which I don't think a lot of them are. It's people that's demonizing it. So that's what I'm saying so that's what I'm saying. We got so much we up against. We got a culture of our people that don't know who they are. They so blinded that they demonize us that practice it. They don't want to have nothing to do with us. And then we got the group of people that aren't really practicing it. So you don't get why this should be so sacred and protected. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get in tune together, y'all. I'm serious. This is not a game anymore. Y'all, I just keep watching what's going on out here. It's happening naturally and I love it. I haven't been saying a lot because sometimes people some things are best unsaid. But we are slowly but surely coming together. Melanated people been staying out of so much crap. We've been keeping our mouth shut about so much stuff. And we've been focusing on us. We healing. We doing better for each other. We looking out for each other when we can. We appreciating each other a bit more. And we are starting to get closer to our spiritual practice, including coming together from different cultures. So Ifis and Muslims and Christians and Voodoos and Hoodoos and healers and priestesses and all kind of people are starting to come together now and stop the fight. And y'all about to see this light come through. So we got voodoo was criminalized because it united enslaved people, preserved African identity, offered power outside of colonial control, and demonization was political, not spiritual. Okay? So that's another thing with the whole MAGA witch thing. And apparently there's black MAGA witches now, and they're defending white witches practicing voodoo and hoodoo, which I think is just terrible. That's just more ignorance from our own people. Unfortunately, that's why we say all skin folk is not your kinfolk. She's probably, some of these individuals men and women are probably too caught up in some of the wrong things, and they don't get it, baby. This is a culture, blood lineage. It's literally created in blood. And if your blood is not activated with that lineage, they know this is a spiritual practice. And they kill people because you effing with them. They still on the same energy they were when they was enslaved. They not here today on this local stuff that's going on right now. That's the difference. So that's dangerous. What the heck they need from them? What the heck do they need from them? These are enslaved ancestors we working with that was enslaved when they left. They never got to see the days that we're seeing today, and they don't give a F-U-C-K. I promise you. They don't give a F. We are the ones that's having to work with them and heal. They're healing through us. But we better listen to them because they see stuff that we ain't seeing. Yeah, I just had to get deep real quick. But look, there was a political, just like the Christian black codes was political. That had nothing to do with spiritual. It was political why they didn't want us in power. And that's why I say you ain't supposed to be practicing that. So in conclusion, voodoo is a spiritual system rooted in survival, balance, and ancestral knowledge. Misinterpretation didn't come from misunderstanding. It came from power feeling threatened. So yes, it got demonized because they were threatened by how powerful we always become and remain when we are staying in touch with our ancestors. They don't want you talking to them because they don't want you figuring out the secret. They don't want you being no medium so you can get the scoop on stuff that they know about because they experienced it firsthand. And they can still see what the F going on right now from living individuals. What? What? Yeah, if you want to get a message, you can. They don't want you doing that. So now, you know what they're doing? They deboing our ancestors. And y'all better stop effing around and Craig they ass back. The playtime been over. This is bigger than some trend. This ain't no freaking trend. This is your ancestors, y'all. So look, like I said, I am open today for this supposedly snow weekend. They said it's supposed to start today. So if it does start, like I said, I will make an announcement, but I will close up shop because I don't want nobody trying to get here and getting stuck. Because I'm not letting nobody be housed up in here for the next couple of days, especially some stranger. But yes, y'all need to get what you need, last minute things to stay in touch with your ancestors. I am doing readings today. Okay, get your reading. Get you a divine message. I may actually go live later on or this weekend in general to do a reading. I just been feeling very, in tune recently. Activated, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's a good thing because you working with your ancestors, y'all. So if y'all would like to donate, y'all know I'm always taking donations. Okay. I have Venmo, PayPal, Chime, Cash App. Okay. All those and all this stuff is at the end of my videos. Y'all know y'all can purchase something from me on my website at goddessontherise.life. Y'all, I got some events coming up that I do need donations for. It's a lot of vendor fees that it costs me to vend at certain places because I'm still building my shop presence, okay? So I have to stay out there until more people start coming to the doorstep, you know what I'm saying, to the shop. So if y'all would like to donate to me, I got vendor fees that cost me $200. $300, you know what I'm saying, to be a part of it, to just be a vendor that y'all. If y'all want to keep seeing me meet these great people that y'all been seeing, that's why I post pictures and go to these great events. I would love for y'all to donate. And I told you don't always have to just give money. Buy something. Get you something. Okay, I got soap. So if you don't have to be spiritual to buy from me. I got soap. I got shea butter now, you know what I'm saying? And I got sea moss now, and I'm about to get more stuff in too. That's what I'm finally getting. That's another donation will help me get more things in that you don't have to get it, if you're not a spiritual person and you still want to support me. And my copper jewelry, you can always buy some copper, okay? You can always get it. Copper is healing, all right? So look, y'all, thank y'all so much for listening to this. Everybody that was open-minded to this message, I really appreciate it. I do have a lot of respect for people that are very knowledgeable, I feel like follow me, and people that want to learn more. That's why they're following. Okay. So thank y'all for my new followers too. I got a couple of new followers recently. I really appreciate y'all. I hope y'all getting what y'all need. Y'all know y'all can always reach out to me, everybody, if y'all need a reading. So let me ring this bell, send this engine back to spirit. Earth, air, fire, water, spirit, y'all. Until next time, happy Venus Day, happy Friday, happy Holy Day. Peace, love, and balance. Capricorn checking out.